Sir Robert MacLeod stood on the balcony of MacLeod Castle, gazing out over the misty waters of Loch Ness. The castle, with its weathered stone walls and towering turrets, had been a part of his family for generations. It was a place steeped in history and legend, its halls echoing with the stories of ancestors long gone. Sir Robert, a man of rational mind and practical nature, had never paid much heed to the old tales of ghosts and curses that surrounded his lineage. Yet, as he looked over the tranquil loch, he couldn't shake a growing sense of unease that had settled in since the arrival of Fiona Campbell, the young artist who had come to capture the castle's picturesque landscapes. Fiona was a vibrant presence, her passion for art evident in the way she spoke about her work. She had requested to paint the castle and its surroundings, particularly intrigued by the lore that clung to the ancient structure. Sir Robert, seeing an opportunity to bring some life and modern interest to the old place, had readily agreed. However, what was meant to be a simple artistic endeavor soon turned into something far more perplexing. One afternoon, Fiona approached Sir Robert, her face pale and eyes wide with confusion. She held up a canvas she had been working on, a landscape painting of the castle with Loch Ness in the background. The painting was beautifully rendered, capturing the serene beauty of the scene, but it was what lay within the painting that startled her. In the background, faint but unmistakable, was the image of a woman. She was dressed in a style from centuries past, her face turned towards the viewer with an expression that seemed to plead for attention. Sir Robert felt a chill run down his spine as he recognized the woman. It was Lady Isabel, an ancestor whose story had been whispered about in hushed tones, her life marked by tragedy and mystery. "What is this?" Fiona asked, her voice trembling slightly. "There was no one there when I painted this." Sir Robert, struggling to maintain his composure, examined the painting closely. The figure was ethereal, almost ghostly, yet detailed enough to be unsettlingly real. "That," he said, "is Lady Isabel MacLeod. She lived here long ago. Her story is complicated." He led Fiona to the castle's gallery, where portraits of his ancestors lined the walls. He stopped in front of a portrait of Lady Isabel, painted in the prime of her youth. The resemblance was undeniable. Fiona, still shaken, stared at the portrait and then back at her painting. "How could I have painted someone I've never seen?" she whispered. Sir Robert didn't have an answer. The MacLeod family had always dismissed the ghost stories surrounding Lady Isabel, but now, faced with this inexplicable occurrence, he couldn't help but feel the weight of those old legends pressing down on him. As Fiona left the gallery, Sir Robert lingered, lost in thought. The castle, once a place of solace and quiet reflection, now seemed filled with unseen presences. The air felt heavy with secrets, and Sir Robert knew that this was only the beginning. The past, long buried, was resurfacing, bringing with it questions and fears he had never allowed himself to acknowledge. In the days that followed, Sir Robert and Fiona found themselves drawn into a deepening mystery. The painting of Lady Isabel was just the first of many strange occurrences. Doors would open on their own, whispers would echo through empty halls, and cold drafts would sweep through rooms with no apparent source. Sir Robert, a man of logic and reason, found his skepticism tested at every turn. As he and Fiona delved into the castle's history, searching for clues about Lady Isabel's life and death, they uncovered a story of love, betrayal, and a curse that had bound her spirit to the castle. The more they learned, the more they realized that Lady Isabel's presence was not a mere haunting. It was a plea for justice and recognition. Sir Robert, determined to uncover the truth, began to feel a connection to the long-deceased woman, as if her spirit were guiding him. Fiona, too, felt drawn to Lady Isabel, her artistic sensibilities heightened by the ghostly encounters. Together, they resolved to uncover the truth, no matter where it led. The days grew shorter, and the castle seemed to darken with each passing hour. Sir Robert and Fiona, bound by a shared purpose, prepared to face the unknown. They knew that the answers they sought would not come easily, and that the truth about Lady Isabel might change their lives forever. The following morning, Sir Robert and Fiona began their investigation into the castle's history. The library, filled with ancient books and family records, became their headquarters. Dusty volumes and yellowed manuscripts provided a fragmented glimpse into the lives of the MacLeod ancestors. They hoped to piece together a coherent narrative that could explain Lady Isabel's haunting presence. Fiona, though still unnerved by the spectral figure in her painting, was eager to assist. Her artistic instincts, usually focused on capturing the beauty of landscapes, were now directed towards unraveling the mystery of Lady Isabel. She felt a strange kinship with the ghostly woman, sensing that her spirit was not one of malevolence, but of sorrow and unresolved pain. As they sifted through documents, they uncovered references to Lady Isabel's life, hinting at a tragic love affair. It was said she had fallen in love with a man of lower status, a relationship that was harshly judged by her family. There were whispers of a scandal, of betrayal, and of Lady Isabel's untimely death under mysterious circumstances. Their findings, however, were incomplete and often contradictory. The castle's history had been kept intentionally vague, with gaps and omissions that only deepened the mystery. Frustrated by the lack of concrete information, Sir Robert decided to consult Reverend Alistair Munro, the local clergyman who had served the community for decades. Reverend Munro was a tall, austere man, his face lined with years of solemn duty. He received Sir Robert and Fiona in the small, stone church near the village. The church, much like the castle, was steeped in history, its walls echoing with the prayers of generations. Upon hearing of their investigation, Reverend Munro expressed concern. "These matters are best left alone," he warned. "The past is a graveyard of forgotten sorrows. Digging them up can bring nothing but trouble." Sir Robert, however, was resolute. "We have a responsibility to the truth," he insisted. "Lady Isabel's spirit is bound to the castle, and we must understand why." The Reverend sighed, his stern demeanor softening slightly. "There are stories," he said, "stories of a hidden chamber within the castle. It was said to be a place of punishment, where those who disgraced the family were sent. Perhaps there, you will find the answers you seek." Intrigued and somewhat disturbed by this revelation, Sir Robert and Fiona returned to the castle, determined to find this hidden chamber. They scoured the castle, examining every nook and cranny, until finally, they found what they were looking for. A concealed door behind an old tapestry in one of the less frequented wings. The door creaked open, revealing a narrow staircase that descended into darkness. Armed with only a lantern, Sir Robert led the way, the flickering light casting eerie shadows on the stone walls. The air grew colder as they descended, and a sense of foreboding settled over them. At the bottom of the stairs, they found a small, windowless room. It was bare, save for a few pieces of old, decaying furniture. On the walls, they could see faint scratches, as if someone had tried to claw their way out. The air was thick with the scent of damp and decay, and Fiona shivered, feeling the weight of the room's tragic history. It was in this chamber that they found a bundle of letters, hidden away in a dusty corner. The letters, written in a delicate, flowing hand, were from Lady Isabel. As they read, the full horror of her story became clear. Her love affair had been discovered, and she had been imprisoned in this very room, left to die alone and forgotten. Tears welled up in Fiona's eyes as she read the final letter, a plea for forgiveness and understanding. Lady Isabel's spirit, it seemed, could not rest because her story had never been told. She had been silenced in life, and now, in death, she sought to be heard. With this revelation, Sir Robert and Fiona realized that they were not dealing with a vengeful ghost, but with a soul in torment, desperate for peace. They resolved to do everything in their power to set things right, to bring Lady Isabel's story to light, and to help her find the rest she so desperately sought. Sir Robert and Fiona spent the following days meticulously going through Lady Isabel's letters and other documents they found in the hidden chamber. Each letter painted a vivid picture of her life, revealing a woman caught between the strict expectations of her noble family and her own desires for love and happiness. Lady Isabel had fallen in love with a man named Thomas, a commoner who worked as a gardener on the estate. Their relationship, though kept secret, had blossomed into a deep and genuine love. However, when their affair was discovered, the MacLeod family reacted with outrage. Lady Isabel's parents, fearing scandal and dishonor, took drastic measures to protect their reputation. Thomas was dismissed from the estate under threats, and Lady Isabel was confined to the hidden chamber as punishment, a place meant to isolate her from the world. The final letters hinted at her despair, loneliness, and the betrayal she felt from those she had loved. As they uncovered this tragic story, Sir Robert and Fiona noticed that the hauntings grew more intense and frequent. The castle's atmosphere became increasingly oppressive, with cold spots and strange noises becoming common occurrences. The apparition of Lady Isabel appeared more frequently, often seen at a distance, her figure shimmering in the dim light of the castle's corridors. Fiona, in particular, seemed to be affected by the presence. She began to experience vivid dreams where Lady Isabel would appear, silently pleading for help. Fiona felt an overwhelming sense of empathy for the ghost, sensing that her suffering was deeply intertwined with unresolved emotions and the injustices she had faced. Despite her growing connection to the ghost, Fiona's health started to deteriorate. She complained of fatigue, headaches, and an inexplicable sense of being watched. Sir Robert, concerned for her well-being, suggested that she take a break and leave the castle for a while. However, Fiona refused, feeling a strong sense of duty to see the mystery resolved and to help Lady Isabel find peace. Their investigation also stirred unrest in the nearby village. Rumors of the haunting spread, and the villagers, already wary of the castle, began to view Sir Robert and Fiona's actions with suspicion. The local tavern buzzed with tales of the ghostly lady of the castle, and some even suggested that the disturbances were a curse brought on by meddling with the past. Reverend Monroe, once a skeptic, now found himself caught between his duty to his parishioners and his concern for Sir Robert and Fiona. He visited the castle again, this time with a more open mind. During their conversation, Fiona shared her experiences and the content of the letters. The Reverend listened intently, his stern expression softening into one of concern. "I must admit," Reverend Monroe said, "there are things in this world that are beyond our understanding. Perhaps Lady Isabel's spirit is bound here because of the injustices she suffered. If her story were made known, it might help her find peace." The suggestion resonated with Sir Robert, who had been grappling with his family's legacy and the moral implications of uncovering such a scandalous part of their history. The idea of publicly revealing Lady Isabel's story, however, posed a significant risk. It would tarnish the MacLeod name and could potentially lead to public backlash. As they deliberated on the next steps, the hauntings reached a new level of intensity. One night, Sir Robert was awakened by a loud crash. He rushed into the hallway to find a portrait of Lady Isabel, which had hung in the gallery, lying on the floor with its glass shattered. Fiona, who had also been awakened, joined him, and they both felt an inexplicable coldness in the air. The ghost appeared before them, more solid than ever, her eyes filled with a mixture of sadness and desperation. She gestured towards the broken portrait and then vanished, leaving behind a silence that felt heavy with meaning. Sir Robert and Fiona knew they could no longer ignore the signs. Lady Isabel's spirit was crying out for her story to be told, for justice and recognition that had been denied to her in life. They resolved to organize a public gathering at the castle, where they would reveal the truth about Lady Isabel's tragic fate. It was a risky decision, but they felt it was the only way to free her spirit and bring closure to the haunting. As they prepared for the event, Fiona's condition worsened. The connection she felt with Lady Isabel seemed to drain her energy, yet she remained determined to see things through. Sir Robert, though deeply concerned for Fiona, respected her resolve and supported her in every way he could. The day of the gathering arrived, and the castle was filled with an air of anticipation. Villagers, curious and anxious, gathered in the great hall, where Sir Robert and Fiona stood ready to share the story they had uncovered. Reverend Monroe offered a silent prayer, hoping that the truth would bring peace to all involved, both living and dead. As Sir Robert began to speak, the atmosphere in the room grew tense. He recounted the tale of Lady Isabel's love, her punishment, and her tragic end, carefully revealing the contents of the letters and the hidden chamber. The audience listened in rapt silence, the weight of the revelation settling over them like a heavy mist. As he concluded the story, Sir Robert felt a palpable shift in the room's energy. There was a collective intake of breath, and then a sense of release, as if a long-held burden had been lifted. Fiona, standing beside him, felt a moment of clarity and relief, despite her weakened state. The truth was now known, and as they looked out over the gathered villagers, they saw a mix of shock, sympathy, and contemplation. The story of Lady Isabel had touched them all, bringing a deep sense of connection to the past and a recognition of the injustices that had occurred. The revelation of Lady Isabel's tragic story sent ripples through the community. The villagers, who had come to hear tales of ghosts and curses, left the castle with heavy hearts and a newfound respect for the history that had shaped their surroundings. The story of Lady Isabel became the talk of the town, spreading beyond the village to neighboring areas. However, not all reactions were sympathetic. Some villagers, deeply superstitious, feared that the public airing of such a tragic tale had stirred the restless spirits. There were whispers that the castle was cursed, that the spirit of Lady Isabel might bring misfortune to those who dared to live there. These rumors began to create a sense of unease, not just about the castle but also about Sir Robert and Fiona's roles in the matter. Reverend Monroe, who had initially been skeptical, found himself in a difficult position. While he sympathized with Sir Robert's and Fiona's intentions, he was also responsible for maintaining the community's moral and spiritual well-being. The heightened tension and fear among the villagers concerned him greatly. In an effort to quell the rising fears, Reverend Monroe spoke to his congregation, urging them to focus on the lessons of compassion and understanding rather than succumbing to superstition. He emphasized the importance of acknowledging the past and learning from it rather than fearing it. However, his words had a mixed reception. Some appreciated his wisdom, while others felt uneasy about the entire affair. Despite these efforts, the hauntings at the castle grew more pronounced. The once occasional apparitions of Lady Isabel became almost nightly occurrences, accompanied by strange noises and inexplicable cold drafts. Fiona's health continued to decline, and she experienced frequent bouts of dizziness and fatigue. She confided in Sir Robert that she felt an overwhelming sense of responsibility for the spirit's unrest, as if Lady Isabel were reaching out to her specifically. The increased paranormal activity led some villagers to accuse Sir Robert and Fiona of meddling with forces beyond their control. The local tavern became a hotbed of gossip and speculation, with some even suggesting that the castle should be abandoned to prevent further misfortunes. Amidst this growing unrest, Reverend Monroe paid another visit to the castle. His expression was grave, reflecting the weight of his responsibilities. "Sir Robert," he began, "while I understand your noble intentions, the community is deeply unsettled. I fear that the situation may spiral out of control." Sir Robert, visibly distressed, replied, "We never intended to cause harm. Our goal was to bring peace to Lady Isabel's spirit, not to disrupt the lives of the living." Reverend Monroe sighed, his eyes filled with concern. The supernatural is a realm fraught with mystery and danger. Perhaps it is time to consider another approach, one that respects both the living and the dead. The Reverend's visit left Sir Robert and Fiona contemplating their next steps. They had hoped that revealing the truth would lay the spirit to rest, but instead, it seemed to have intensified the haunting. With the community on edge and Fiona's health at risk, they faced a difficult choice: continue their efforts to help Lady Isabel find peace, or heed the growing calls to leave the past buried. As they pondered this dilemma, they couldn't ignore the sense that the situation was reaching a critical juncture. The next move would be crucial, not only for resolving the haunting but also for the well-being of all involved. Sir Robert and Fiona knew they needed to act decisively, but the path forward remained uncertain and fraught with risks. Determined to bring peace to Lady Isabel's spirit and alleviate the fears of the villagers, Sir Robert and Fiona decided to conduct a final ritual. They believed that a formal acknowledgement of Lady Isabel's story, combined with a respectful commemoration, might finally release her restless spirit. Reverend Monroe, though wary, agreed to assist, hoping to bring a sense of closure and calm to the community. The preparations for the ritual were meticulous. Sir Robert and Fiona gathered all the letters and documents they had uncovered, intending to use them as part of the ceremony to symbolically lay Lady Isabel's story to rest. They also planned to consecrate the hidden chamber, acknowledging it as a place of suffering and seeking forgiveness for the wrongs committed there. As they prepared, the bond between Sir Robert and Fiona deepened. Their shared experiences had forged a strong connection, one that transcended mere friendship. Sir Robert admired Fiona's courage and empathy, while Fiona found solace in Sir Robert's steadfastness and commitment to justice. They both felt a growing responsibility, not just to Lady Isabel, but to each other and the legacy of the MacLeod family. The night of the ritual arrived, shrouded in an unsettling stillness. The castle, usually filled with subtle sounds of life, seemed almost silent, as if holding its breath. The villagers, though fearful, were curious and gathered outside the castle grounds, eager to witness the resolution of the haunting that had gripped their community. Inside, Sir Robert, Fiona, and Reverend Monroe gathered in the great hall. The atmosphere was thick with tension and expectation. Fiona, despite her weakened state, stood resolute beside Sir Robert, ready to see the ritual through. Reverend Monroe began with a prayer, invoking peace and forgiveness. He then read aloud excerpts from Lady Isabel's letters, detailing her love for Thomas and the unjust punishment she endured. As he spoke, the temperature in the room seemed to drop, and a palpable chill filled the air. They moved to the hidden chamber, where the ritual would culminate. The chamber, dimly lit by candles, felt more oppressive than ever, as if the walls themselves were steeped in sorrow. Sir Robert placed the letters and documents on a small table in the center, along with a portrait of Lady Isabel he had retrieved from the gallery. As they began the final part of the ritual, the ghostly figure of Lady Isabel appeared before them. This time, she was more distinct and solid than ever, her presence accompanied by a cold wind that rustled the pages of the letters. Her eyes, filled with sadness and longing, were fixed on the portrait. Fiona, moved by the sight, stepped forward and addressed the spirit. "Lady Isabel, we have heard your story, and we seek to honor your memory. Please, find peace in knowing that your truth is now known." At that moment, the ghost reached out towards the portrait, her hand passing through the canvas as if trying to connect with her own past. The candles flickered, casting eerie shadows on the walls, and for a brief moment, it felt as if time itself had stopped. Suddenly, the portrait fell to the floor, and the ghostly figure began to fade. The air grew even colder, and Fiona, feeling a surge of energy, stepped closer to the portrait. She picked it up and placed it back on the table, her hands trembling. Reverend Monroe, sensing the climax of the ritual, sprinkled holy water around the chamber and recited a final blessing, asking for Lady Isabel's spirit to find rest and for the castle to be cleansed of its past. As the last words were spoken, a bright light filled the chamber, momentarily blinding them. When their vision cleared, the ghost was gone, leaving behind an overwhelming sense of calm. The air, once heavy with sorrow, felt light and peaceful. The ritual had ended, and with it, the haunting presence of Lady Isabel. Sir Robert, Fiona, and Reverend Monroe stood in silence, absorbing the weight of the moment. It was as if a great burden had been lifted, not just from the castle, but from their own hearts. The villagers outside, sensing a change, approached the castle cautiously. Sir Robert stepped out to address them, reassuring them that the spirit had been laid to rest and that the castle was now free of its haunting past. The news was met with relief and a cautious optimism as the community began to process the events of the night. Fiona, exhausted but relieved, felt a profound sense of closure. The connection she had felt with Lady Isabel seemed to dissipate, leaving her feeling lighter and more at peace. Sir Robert, looking at Fiona, felt a surge of gratitude for her presence and support, recognizing that they had both undergone a significant transformation through this journey. As they left the hidden chamber, Sir Robert knew that while Lady Isabel's story had been put to rest, the castle would always carry the memories of its past. He resolved to honor these memories, ensuring that the history of the MacLeod family would be remembered with honesty and integrity. In the days following the ritual, a profound sense of calm settled over MacLeod Castle. The once frequent disturbances ceased entirely, leaving the castle in an unusual tranquility. The air, which had been heavy with tension and fear, now felt clear and peaceful. The villagers, initially skeptical, gradually accepted that the haunting had ended. The tale of Lady Isabel's tragic life and the subsequent ritual became a story passed down, a blend of legend and truth that would be remembered for generations. Fiona, though still recovering from the physical toll of her involvement, felt a deep sense of satisfaction and relief. The connection she had felt with Lady Isabel seemed to have lifted, leaving her spirit unburdened. She spent her days resting and reflecting on the intense experience, drawing solace from the knowledge that they had helped a troubled soul find peace. Sir Robert, meanwhile, took it upon himself to ensure that Lady Isabel's story was not forgotten. He commissioned a new portrait of her, one that would be hung in the castle's gallery with an accompanying plaque detailing her story. It was a gesture of respect and acknowledgement, a way to honor her memory and ensure that her truth remained known. Reverend Monroe, though initially concerned about the community's reaction, found that the villagers had come to view the ritual as a necessary act of closure. He continued his work in the parish, subtly integrating the lessons learned from the haunting into his sermons and teachings. He spoke of forgiveness, understanding, and the importance of acknowledging the past, themes that resonated deeply with his congregation. As Fiona recovered, she and Sir Robert spent more time together, their bond growing stronger. They shared long conversations about their experiences, the history of the castle, and their hopes for the future. Sir Robert, grateful for Fiona's courage and empathy, found himself contemplating a future that included her not just as a friend but as a partner. One evening, as they stood on the balcony overlooking the tranquil waters of Loch Ness, Sir Robert turned to Fiona with a thoughtful expression. "Fiona, you've brought something to this castle that was sorely needed: compassion, understanding, and a willingness to face the unknown. I can't imagine having gone through this without you." Fiona smiled, feeling a warmth spread through her. "It was a journey neither of us expected, but one I'm grateful for. Lady Isabel's story touched me deeply, and I'm glad we could help her find peace." They stood in companionable silence, watching the sun set over the loch, the sky painted with hues of orange and pink. The peacefulness of the scene mirrored the calm they felt within, a testament to the resolution of the haunting and the new beginnings it heralded. As they turned to go back inside, Sir Robert paused. "This castle has seen much change, and there's still more to come. But for the first time in a long while, I feel hopeful about the future. And I hope that future includes you, Fiona." Fiona, touched by his words, nodded. "I'd like that, Robert. Very much." With that, they entered the castle, leaving behind the ghosts of the past and stepping into a future filled with promise and potential. The transformation of MacLeod Castle became a topic of interest beyond the village, drawing attention from historians and those fascinated by the supernatural. The tale of Lady Isabel and the successful ritual to lay her spirit to rest became part of the castle's lore, attracting visitors eager to learn about the history and the haunting that had once gripped the estate. Sir Robert, embracing his role as both laird and steward of his family's legacy, welcomed these changes. He worked closely with historians and local authorities to ensure that Lady Isabel's story was preserved with dignity and accuracy. The castle, once shrouded in mystery and fear, became a place of learning and reflection. Its haunted past a poignant reminder of the importance of truth and reconciliation. The villagers, initially fearful of the castle and its supernatural associations, gradually warmed to the new narrative. The ritual had not only laid Lady Isabel's spirit to rest, but also brought a sense of closure and peace to the community. The castle, now a symbol of resolved mysteries and historical integrity, became a source of pride for the village. Fiona, having recovered her strength, decided to stay on at the castle, at least for a while longer. Her connection with Sir Robert had deepened into a genuine partnership, both personally and in their shared commitment to the castle's future. Together, they planned new ways to honor the castle's history, including opening it to the public as a museum and cultural site. Reverend Monroe continued to support Sir Robert and Fiona, often visiting the castle and offering guidance. The experience had softened his once rigid views on the supernatural, allowing him to appreciate the complexities of faith, history, and the human spirit. His sermons now included themes of understanding and compassion, resonating with a congregation that had lived through the unsettling yet enlightening events. As the weeks turned into months, the castle's atmosphere remained calm and welcoming. The villagers, visitors, and even skeptics found themselves drawn to the stories and the serene beauty of the place. The gallery's new portrait of Lady Isabel became a focal point, a tribute to a woman whose story, once silenced, was now shared with respect and empathy. One afternoon, as Sir Robert and Fiona walked through the castle grounds, they reflected on the journey they had shared. The once eerie and foreboding place now felt like home, filled with a sense of purpose and possibility. Sir Robert, looking at Fiona, felt a deep gratitude for her presence and the transformative effect she had on his life and the castle. "Fiona," he said, "what we've done here, it feels like just the beginning. There's so much more we can do, more stories to uncover, more history to preserve, and I'm glad you're here to share it with me." Fiona smiled, her eyes bright with enthusiasm. "I feel the same, Robert. This place, these stories, they're part of us now, and I'm excited to see where this journey takes us next." With a shared sense of hope and purpose, they continued their walk, the future stretching out before them like the tranquil waters of Loch Ness. The castle, once a place of shadows and secrets, had become a beacon of history, learning, and renewal. As time passed, MacLeod Castle flourished as a beacon of history and culture. The story of Lady Isabel, once a hushed secret, became a celebrated part of the castle's rich tapestry. Visitors from far and wide came to explore the estate, drawn by the blend of historical intrigue and the promise of learning more about the past's complexities. Sir Robert and Fiona played pivotal roles in this transformation. They established a museum within the castle, showcasing artifacts, documents, and portraits that told the full story of the MacLeod lineage. The museum included a special exhibit dedicated to Lady Isabel, where visitors could learn about her life, the tragic love affair, and the events that led to the haunting. This exhibit served as both a memorial and a reminder of the importance of understanding and compassion. The castle grounds also hosted lectures, art exhibits, and cultural events, making it a vibrant community hub. Sir Robert and Fiona, often at the forefront of these activities, shared their experiences and the lessons they learned from the haunting. Their story emphasized the value of confronting the past, no matter how uncomfortable, and the power of truth in healing old wounds. Fiona, finding a deep sense of belonging and purpose, chose to make the castle her permanent home. Her artistic talents flourished, inspired by the history and the serene surroundings. She continued to explore themes of memory and legacy in her work, her art reflecting the journey she had undergone. The broader impact of the castle's transformation was felt in the village as well. The villagers, once wary of the castle and its supernatural history, became proud of their local landmark. The influx of visitors brought new opportunities and revitalized the local economy, fostering a renewed sense of community spirit. Reverend Monroe remained a close friend and advisor to Sir Robert and Fiona. His sermons continued to evolve, integrating the lessons from the haunting into broader teachings about forgiveness, reconciliation, and the importance of understanding one's history. His open-mindedness and willingness to embrace change became a guiding light for many in the community. As Sir Robert and Fiona reflected on the events that had unfolded, they felt a profound sense of fulfillment. They had faced the unknown, confronted difficult truths, and emerged stronger and more united. The castle, once a symbol of unresolved mystery and fear, had become a place of enlightenment and growth. Yet, amidst the calm and prosperity, there were whispers of other mysteries within the castle's ancient walls. Unexplored passages, hidden rooms, and old manuscripts hinted at untold stories waiting to be uncovered. Sir Robert and Fiona, ever curious and driven by a passion for history, knew that their journey was far from over. As they stood on the balcony, gazing over the tranquil waters of Loch Ness, they felt a renewed sense of purpose. The future, filled with the promise of discovery and the continuing preservation of their heritage, beckoned them forward. "There's so much more to learn," Fiona remarked, her eyes sparkling with excitement. Sir Robert nodded, his gaze thoughtful. "Indeed, the past has many layers, and we've only just begun to peel them back. But with you by my side, I feel ready for whatever comes next." With a shared smile, they turned back towards the castle, ready to embrace the future and all the mysteries it held. McLeod Castle, now a place of peace and knowledge, stood as a testament to the power of truth, love, and the enduring strength of the human spirit. If you're eager to explore more mysteries and adventures beyond our own world, click on the video appearing on your screen now. Dive into another thrilling sci-fi story from our Sci-Fi Story Vault and continue your voyage into the unknown. Don't forget to subscribe for more tales from the cosmos. The universe is vast, and its stories are waiting for you.